Hi, and welcome to Off the Beaten Tracks, the only show on YouTube where nothing you do with a fork is against the law.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Off the Beaten Track. It is once again my pleasure, and my name is Bob Bryden, by the way. I'm a musician and recording artist myself, but it's my great pleasure to speak with, again, Mr. Keith McKie, legendary, truly legendary member of the Kensington Market, who recorded 2 albums for Warner Brothers Records in the late 60s. And today we're going to be focusing on the second Kensington Market album, which is called Ardvark. Welcome again, Mr. McKie. Keith, so great to be able to talk to you.
It's been a long time.
This is the second Kensington Market album, released in 1969. That's the inside cover. Great shot of the band.
Done by Bruce Meeks, and also the stage was a real stage with a little aardvark that was a paper mache aardvark. It's on the front cover. Like a little aardvark, and the stage was real. It had curtains and the whole thing. Nice. And then it was photographed.
And you can see the aardvark
and Bruce did the
center stage there.
I hope I've got his first name right. His last name is Meeks, and I believe it's Bruce Meeks.
That rings a bell.
Yeah. And then Bart Scholes did all the inside photographs. We did those down on the beaches, which was really fun. We always got pictures with Bart. It was always freezing and cold. And
you're right.
That was it may have been the same day we did the other. No, it wasn't. It was different.
Why was it called Ardvark?
Ardvark was because the market, when we started, we wanted to be eclectic. It was a big word, and eclectic, that's a great word. We wanted to be an eclectic band. So, Gene had us listening to, which we'd listen to all kinds of music, but he'd have like Stravinsky on, we'd listen to Les Noaks or whatever. Cool. The Rites of Spring, that was the one we listened to. I mean, Bulgarian music, we listened to all that. So we wanted to be kind of eclectic, and we thought, calling it like Ardvark, the Kensington Market was also part of that, like having all the different things. But Ardvark also was kind of, we called Bernie's boots Ardvarks, because he had these old boots that were like rather worn and torn at the time. So that was part of it. And then we thought, well, geez, we're going to get right at the top of all the listings for things with 2 A's.
And the record stores in the bins.
Yeah, so there was that possibility of having a thing.
You're ahead of ABBA.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe.
Album
no, they would
anyway.
get first because of the B. Oh, no, we had 2 A's.
Yes.
So there you go. Goodbye, ABBA. But anyway, it didn't do us as much good as we thought, because ABBA did get ahead of us.
Okay. Well, I even put in my notes, how did the decidedly psychedelic cover come about, and the symbolism of the aardvark. Now, I was really
it was an earth pig. So the aardvark
pig?
the earth pig. That's what it was. It was an aardvark, and basically it would look for ants and things like that. And it was kind of a nice animal. We liked it. It was sort of cuddly and cute, but didn't really do any damage. So it was.
Well, I went a little bit Ingmar Bergman on it, because I started analyzing it from the perspective of being a languid but extremely well-armored creature.
True.
Is that the way you guys felt about the music business? You had to go in like a tank?
No, I don't think we felt that, but we could.
Okay. In another interview, you once described yourself as a very psychedelically oriented person.
Did I?
Yes, that's a quote. You said that. Do you want me to say where?
I don't know. Where did I say that?
Well, that's in Nicholas Jennings' writings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, at the time I thought so, but I don't think you can be. You unless you're using very small amounts. Well,
yes.
No, the actual now, and they've come around to the point where people are saying, well, LSD in very small quantities can be very good for your brain. Yeah. Now, small quantities is the thing, and it's like really small. Yeah. The same as psilocybin and things like that. Mm-hmm. They're finding that is healthy for the mind, apparently. Now, I don't know, because I haven't seen all the studies, or I don't know. And of course, these things move so slowly. At that time, though, the amounts, that was sort of like if you took a whole service station worth of gas and put it in the back of your car and burned it off at one time.
Yes.
That was what it was sort of like.
Yep.
So really, it was very, I think it was destructive of organizational properties in some ways. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the things that we faced. And part of the reason, in a way, the band really ended up being disorganized was because of, I would say, my particular case, because I was doing a lot of things that were quite semi-destructive in a sense. And that was kind of a drag, but it was, it was just what people were doing at the time, and we were supposed to find out what was going on, and we certainly tried. I did, at least. I don't know about the other guys, but I certainly was in there, rooting around.
Yeah, I was too. But you seem to have survived quite well.
My brain, in some ways, did, and in other ways, I'm not so sure.
I can relate to that totally.
You can ask my friends. They'll say, well, Keith's a bit weird.
A lot of people listen to my first 5 albums, which were done with a band called Rainbows of Christmas,
Nice.
and they always say to me, oh man, you must have been so loaded. Yeah, you were really out there.
Well, most of the stuff we did on record or in the writing was mostly fairly straight.
Yeah. Well,
on the second album, there was one tune where I wrote part of it on a plane going to L.A., and
I remember reading
I had some mescaline. I took the mescaline before I got on the plane because we were afraid of taking it on the plane. That's when I broke the hotel door by accident. And they charged us $200 for it. It was one of those thick glass hotel doors. Everything was in slow motion. I had my 2 steel suitcases. I'm going through the door. I push it open with my foot. The suitcases go up like this. They're really heavy, and they have those blue suitcases where it comes down on the door. Smash! The whole door smashed. I turn around. The band is laughing. I turn around. All the staff, they're standing at the front. They're all laughing. And my friend Alex said, that was the most graceful thing you've ever done. We didn't do stuff like that very often. Most of the songs that we worked on or did were pretty straight. It's not really, I think writing a song when you're stoned isn't the same as writing a song when you're not stoned.
Absolutely.
Because if you're stoned, you're all over the place.
Yeah. Well, I've done that classic thing of waking up the next day and going, "Well, this is crap."
Yeah. What is that? What did I write that? I thought it was so meaningful.
I thought that
was so profound last night. What happened?
Last night it was so deep.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people in the old days would write drunk. Half drunk or whatever.
It's great for the blues.
Yeah, but I don't think it really like it's the same when we did the albums. We were always, I think, reasonably straight. We played mostly straight.
How did you move on to work with Felix Pappalardi again on Ardvark? Can you tell us a bit about the time between Avenue Road and Ardvark?
Yeah, the second album was very strange because we were starting to use the synthesizer. And that was a good
Should mention John Mills Cockle being aboard for this one.
Who came on board at that point, and I think it was partly through Bart Scholes we found him. They had a really cool place where the post office, the old post office, the end and between George and Frederick Street, off of Front Street, on the north side. They at that time, before it was a historical monument and the city took it back, or whoever took it back, they had this great huge loft area that was all open, and they had different, and I think there were InterSystems at that point. And InterSystems had several artists, people that did all these different productions. John Mills Cockle was one of them. John started with a band, and it kind of transformed us because at that time he was using a Moog synthesizer, which you had to repatch. Every time you only had one channel going at a time. One sound. There weren't 2. You didn't get polyphonic. You got like monophonic. One sound, what he'd do is he'd have to patch different filters, different levels of filter, different levels of this and that, combinations of tones, oscillators, and that's what he did, and it was. So we'd play one song without synth, then he'd play a song with a synth, and then we'd play a song without, and then he'd play a song with, So it was really, when we did Half Closed Eyes, that was so, I'm telling you, that was one of the, we were sort of softening at that point, but I was a little bit, I must say I was at a point where I was very psychedelic. So we're doing that, and I'm thinking, oh, this is like angels in a skating rink. It's just this lovely stuff. And we'd never heard anything like that before because the synth was kind of. And John was so different. Like in Syrinx, where they've just put out a new 3 albums or maybe more. Maybe 5.
I got the new CD.
The new CD. I got to get that. I haven't got it yet, but it's
wonderful.
Like he had a sound. He's on a Third Testament by Malcolm Muggeridge. He's on Stationary Arc, where he had that sound. And nobody sounded like John. And I don't think anybody's ever sounded like John since John. John was a really original, conceptual artist on the synthesizer.
Ardvark is a decidedly much more ambitious, adventurous, and explorative album, both in terms of the songs and the instrumentation. Would you attribute that mainly to John Mills Cockle?
Oh, no.
It's where
I think we had a lot of involvement, like songs like Dorian, which was, we were starting to really play a lot. Like it was a great Luke Dorian, amazing song.
It is.
It's a classic. See, the thing is we wrote in kind of a way on the first album. I would how I've always written. I was playing with musicians as opposed to necessarily, I think, more of an artist mind than a musician mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like learn a chord, and then I'd go, oh, I love that E major 7. Oh, I'm going to write a song on that. And I'd work on that one thing and then work out something. I do some classical things. Like Coming Home Soon was basically, I had a little classical book, and those little intervals, the sixth, the minor and major sixth, oh, wow, I'm going to use those in something. So, and I wrote it into an R&B. It was supposed to be for David Clayton Thomas, but he never got it. When we did Ardvark, I think I was more into myself. I was more into like suspended chords, and there's a lot of suspended chords on it, and so a lot of the writing was kind of influenced by chords. And of course, Luke was writing. He was kind of like really stretching out on the writing part too. So we were, I'd have to. Yeah, and then Gene and we wrote The Owing Man. It was one of the songs we actually sat down and wrote together. And he'd write the melodies to the little choruses. He had some chords that he'd written. So, like, I wrote the melody to one part, and he had the words, and then I wrote the words to the next part, and he'd written the melody. Nice. So it was kind of like a real collaboration. Yeah, we sat in this little place on DuPont Street writing, and it was really fun. Yeah. And we were both thinking, like, trying to be, like a little abstract, and because
for sure,
like, you kind of like all those dissonances and things.
Yeah, it's there.
So, and Gene was really into that, so it was fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. I got to kind of flatter you here, because I have a gifted musician friend whose name is Katie Irochi, and I was jamming with her last month, and she said, "There's this cover I want to do," because we're all about original songs too. She said, "You want to do a cover?" Just kind of shocked me coming from this lady. She wants to cover "Owing Man."
Oh, please! You know
Market.
what? Actually, it's on a single. As called Witch's Stone.
I know, I have it right here.
Okay, without the vocal.
Yeah,
I don't know how it got called that.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's right here.
I think Felix titled it, or the company, and I don't know why.
This is the Side I Am single from Ardvark. On the flip side, it's called Witch's Stone, but it's actually Owing Man.
It's very strange, though, that they
bizarre.
didn't put something more commercial on the other side. I've never understood why Warner Brothers would have done that. Is it such Witch's Stone? I mean, it's a very strange, strange tune in the first place, which I'm not saying I don't like it, but it was fun to do.
Side I Am is an amazing song. That's a very catchy tune, and
so
is the other
on the roof of a house in Spadina. And,
nice.
And
so is the other single from the album. It's called "Help Me," and is that a?
And of course, like Gene wrote the intro to it, and see, that was how we do songs sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of times, like in that particular case with Side I Am, Gene wrote this little introduction because he was doing a lot of studying at the time. So he wrote this very abstract kind of French, French kind of sounding tune with it. So it was very cool because Luke and I. He gave us the music, and I remember learning the part, because it was obviously strange stuff. So we learned it and played it, and then that became the intro to the tune, right?
The tune, wow.
And then Felix, I think, played the trumpet part at the beginning of it.
Luke Gibson is credited with one song on Avenue Road, The Glorious Sleeping of Dreams.
Well, he just joined the band.
He had just joined the band. Actually, that was my next question.
That was part of the thing. When Luke first joined, he'd really started, I think, he just started to write them.
Oh, really?
Because the Apostles were basically a blues band.
That's right.
And they didn't really do a lot of original material, which was a shame because they were a great band.
Mm-hmm.
Like our two favorite bands when we first got to Toronto were the Rogues and Luke and the Apostles. Nice. There were other bands, but those two were exceptional. Yeah. Rogues became the Mandela,
right?
And I really loved them as the Rogues. They were they were everything you would want in an R&B band at the time.
Probably edgier, right?
Well, no, I don't know if they were edgy, but they were really good. Because they really were authentic.
You're credited on Ardvark with 6 songs on that album. Martinique with 3, and on Avenue Road.
Right.
And on Ardvark, you're credited with 7 of the 13 songs. Luke with 4 and Gene with 8. That's that's really something for Gene, either alone or in collaboration with others.
We did quite a few collaborations,
But it still seems like you were the main songwriter. And how was that in terms of? Did you feel any pressure as being a main songwriter in that regard?
I don't know if I ever really thought about it. You just write songs, and if you were the one they liked that song, they would take that song and do it.
Yeah.
And if they did,
was there any kind of rivalry in the band in that regard?
Probably. I mean, there's always a little rivalry. You want to write a really good song, and everybody wants to write a good song. You're going, I just wrote a good song. I better write a good song too. Geez, how come he's writing all the good songs?
Well,
I'm not.
That's just pushing the creative engine. That's just pushing the engine.
Yeah,
it.
Well, no, I think
That's good.
I think good, healthy competition is the best
Good
thing.
competition, yeah.
I think it's awful if you don't have a bit of competition. If you do, you're going to get better songs. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah, that's true.
when Paul and John were writing songs, they were edging for it.
They were edging.
The Stones a little different. The Stones would write together a lot more for some reason, or at least you think that.
Well,
Except for Brian Jones, who didn't get included.
Right.
I mean, he probably was the writer for
if you watch Godard's Sympathy for the Devil, and you see the incredibly almost lazy approach to writing the songs the Stones had. There's a few Stone songs in that movie that bear no resemblance to the final thing.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Yeah.
When it starts and they're just like edging along.
Yeah.
But that's what happens. A tune,
it's great.
When you start a tune, it's really good when it evolves. I think that's important. That's the nice thing about a group. Like I do a lot of stuff on my own now.
Mm-hmm.
The best part about having a group is you get to the chorus. Okay, now people, they go and they've got their MIDI thing going, they set their drums and they got a bass part and all that. Okay, now you're going to spend 2 hours rewriting the chorus and then you don't like it and then you have to do it again. With a band, you're doing it, you're going, well, look, can you change that? Okay, bang, boom.
It's there.
And that's the market rehearsed like that. Like Gene would be, I would say he was more or less our arranger for the most part in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody in the band threw in things. Like Alex would throw in stuff. Alex and Jimmy would rehearse for ages on a rhythm part for a song.
Yeah,
they would really very detailed ideas.
Oh, I know.
And we'd throw in little things, like what that we could throw in, and then we had a little bit of stability with the guys that were actually, the reader musicians.
Yeah. When you went in to do Ardvark, did you have a lot more songs than say you had on Avenue Road? Was there a plethora of material to choose from, or was it all honed?
Yeah, I don't know. We had a lot of material, but because there were a lot of tunes we never did. We had them like I can think of a couple.
You mean never recorded or never played live?
There were some that we played live that we didn't record.
What's your favorite song on Ardvark?
I don't have favorite songs. Everyone says, "Who's your favorite guitar player?" Oh my God! There's so many good guitar players. I like a lot of the songs on Ardvark. I like a lot of the songs on Avenue Road. I don't really have a favorite per se.
Help Me is great.
Help Me's a great song. I really like Help Me. Help Me's a great song to play too.
Yeah, and you sort of took the Beatles thing to another level with that. I loved it. Half Closed Eyes is awesome.
What's that?
Half Closed Eyes is
that was fun. We see now when we do, I don't do Half Closed Eyes the same now. I played it with the Market, like the revisited Market, and we changed it a little bit. Yeah. Just to be maybe a little more driving in a sense, because it's so laid back.
No, I noticed that. Yeah. And folks, you can watch the Kensington Market reunion videos on YouTube. There's plenty of them up there. Just Google Kensington Market YouTube. Owing Man, we talked about that. Side I Am.
That here on most of them. Owing Man, yeah.
I love that.
Which other ones?
Well, Side I Am.
Side I Am was,
I mean, think about the times and Said I Could Be Happy. Those could have been singles.
They were fun songs, yeah. No,
songs.
I know. I don't know why they didn't put it on the back of this one. It would have been fun.
Yeah, really. Let's have the Witches instead. Witches don't. Have You Come to See is excellent.
Have You Come to See was fun. That was the one that we were on our way to California, and I wrote the chorus on the plane.
Can you sort of nutshell for us what it was like after the release of Ardvark and how it came about that the band called it a day?
I think we were sort of a little disillusioned, and I think probably too much was going on, around. Like I was pretty out of it by then in a lot of ways, and you can't really work with out of it people after a while. It gets too crazy. There was a little bit of people wanted to get on and do other things. So I think we felt by then we weren't really playing a winning game.
That's kind of normal.
Bernie had left too.
Band evolution.
Like by the time we'd finished it all, Bernie left, and then it was like, it wasn't as I never really connected with the States at all. Yeah, I wasn't really. I don't know, and that was sort of a bad thing because in a way it wasn't. We were happy at home.
Yeah, but that's life. Yeah. I just want to throw out a song title out there. So what you're saying is that there's no real easy way down.
Yeah, there's no easy way down. That's right. Yeah, no.
That's a reference to a song on Keith's 1981 solo album.
One of the last vinyl albums.
Don't go ooh. Called Rumors at the Newsstand, which is actually a very fine record, and I neglected or forgot, actually we both did, to bring a copy in, but he did release a solo album in 1981 called Rumors at the Newsstand. Maybe the producers will do a show on that album for you. I want to talk just a bit about the fact that there was a documentary released in 2006 called Shaken All Over by the CBC. when anyone does anything on Canadian music, what are you seeing? You're seeing, it's always, I'm sorry, it's the same old, same old. It's the same crew. There's Rush, there's Joni Mitchell, there's Neil Young, and there's Gordon Lightfoot, who are all geniuses, don't get me wrong. But I'm always going, where is the Kensington Market? Where is the Poppers? Where are these unbelievable bands that didn't actually have platinum sales? Where are they? But suddenly this documentary comes along,
Yep.
and you're getting as much time on the show as the big stars. So is Adam Mitchell and other people, Dave Bingham from the Ugly Ducklings, I think he's in it. But it's just a great documentary, folks, because the era and the bands and the artists that we're talking about on these programs are all well represented in that documentary. I miss your songwriting, and
I still write.
Well, good.
And Luke still writes too. Like we all still write. Luke's just put out a new album with the Apostles, which is really cool.
Oh, I got to pick that up.
A little. Pat Little has just put out an album, which is also really, really good. Pat's great, and he used to be a drummer. Now he's a songwriter.
Yeah,
and he's a frontman guy, and he's quite good.
Very.
I think Kathy has just released something new. I'm not sure, but I think she's done something.
Well, we want to hear something new from you. We do. We want to hear a new album, and be uncompromised about it. Don't take the edge off. Whatever. I mean,
I don't have an edge anymore.
Okay, if you don't have an edge anymore,
it's all mellow from now on.
That's a whole other story.
Break. I watched this band. There was a band from Winnipeg. I saw them with a band called Spiral Beach, which was a local band that was.
I love them. I have all 4 albums by them. They have 4
CDs.
CDs.
Yeah, well, my son
amazing.
was a big fan. I know, and Woody, and I know.
The girl singer's amazing.
They're daughters and sons of people that I know, and so I go to see them play. And there was a band from Winnipeg there, and the Drake. It was at the Drake, and I don't know what the band was called, but they're really young, and they're like. Their hair's going like this, and their hair's going back, and they're going back and forth, and they're really good. And I thought, if I did that, my head would fall off.
Keith, getting back to Ardvark, I noticed that on the credits, Felix Pappalardi is now credited with a writing credit on several songs. Can you talk about how that came about, or what you remember?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly the collaboration he had with Luke or Gene, because that was for Dorian and Help Me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really sure what the collaboration was, but he definitely would have contributed to it. Like he played bass on one of the tunes we did as well, and on one of them.
Okay.
He did a piece called Chow. That's just a little piano piece, and I think that was because his mother had died on one of his trips up.
Oh wow!
And that was kind of like, it was a very subdued kind of piece with that kind of tune. And then it leads into Owing Man or one of those tunes.
So we were saying that there's a thin line sometimes between production and composition because everybody's contributing, and sometimes it's hard to remember who did what.
Felix had this great tune called Traveling in the Dark, which you'll hear on the Mountain album. But at the time we were, and it would have been a song probably we might have even recorded, because he would sing it, and he had this really haunting voice, kind of like you could tell he'd been working with Jack Bruce and the Cream.
Nice. Yeah.
Nice high voice. And cool. So Traveling in the Dark, which I loved, you'd play it and you go, wow, this is an amazing tune. Then I heard it on the Mountain album, and I thought, well, what did you do that for? Because it was like, like
it's different,
powerful, and but the original version was so beautiful. Yeah, it's just a lovely tune.
Cool. We're going to have to wrap it up pretty soon, but before we do, I also wanted to present these to you people. Pacemaker, a label out of Toronto, has officially released both the Avenue Road and the Ardvark album on CD a few years ago. I have both of these. They're wonderful transfers. They're just excellent. And I'm so glad that you've entered the digital domain with
right into the digital.
Yeah, man. And we also, before we close...
The original digital.
We also want you to mention again, you've made a movie.
Oh, A Song for Us. Peter Hitchcock produced it. It's quite I think a good film. There's a trailer for it, I believe, on Facebook.
Oh, I'll look that up.
A Song for Us. You just put that, and you'll find it. Let's see if I actually wrote it down. Just HTTPS//www Ardvark.com song for us movie.
It's been such a pleasure to talk to you
And you
again.
also, thank you.
Please go out and buy Kensington Market records and go to collector shows and buy the original copies and get the CDs and support Kensington Market because we want to hear some more music from this guy. Keith
And
McKie,
other
ladies
bands
and
too,
gentlemen.
eh?
And other bands.
Don't forget, all the live music is best.
Oh, yeah, okay. All
Or
right.
some clubs. Get some clubs open or some places where people
Yeah,
can play.
people have to play music again. Wouldn't that be good?
It would be
Okay.
nice.
All right. Goodbye, folks.
If you work in a morgue, you really shouldn't cut coroners. Get it?